What's going on, guys? Dan with Spilling the Tea at Pico podcast. Today, we're joined by Joshua Wall. Joshua is on the board of directors of BRIA, which is the Brantford Regional Real Estate Association. He's also a real estate agent with Crew, and they do a ton of stuff with their community out in Brantford. So he spoke about Brantford, why it's a great place to invest, talked about his journey and going from selling coffee and wine and door-to-door sales to what he's doing today. And I loved having Josh on. I think he's got an incredible story. We're going to have him back too because they're doing some pretty cool stuff with the community and he wanted to share it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Grab a tea, kick on back, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Spilling the Tea, brought to you by Pico Mortgages. This is a podcast where we look to interview movers, shakers, hustlers, people that are inspiring, have inspiring stories, and help to push the envelope on what's possible. I am your host, Daniel Johannes, and I'm a mortgage broker, but I'm also a business owner. I've created multiple startups, including a graffiti removal business. I've done loose leaf tea, I've done kombucha, juice bars, you name it. So I've got some experience in this and I'm looking forward to these conversations that I have. If you like it, please comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. Hope you enjoy it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Spilling the Tea at Pico podcast. Today, I am joined by Joshua Wall. Joshua is a member of BRIA, that's the Brantford Regional Real Estate Association. He's on the board of directors, and he has been involved in real estate since 2016, and he's been a licensed realtor since 2019. He has extensive experience in marketing, communications, and community engagement. Hey, Joshua, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's great to be here today.
Yeah, no problem. So let's talk a little bit about your journey and what got you into to real estate.
Awesome. I'll try to summarize it as best I can. I started a networking company as soon as I could when I was 18 years old, and I started by just working together with local businesses. And the idea was that if I referred a client or a person to go into their business, they would receive a discount on whatever they purchased, and then the owner would hit me up with a commission off of the purchase price of the sale. So that was how it got started, and it was way back, early 2000s. So I didn't, there wasn't all the same tools that we have available now, and I ended up taking a job in door-to-door sales, selling security systems. And that kind of became my life. And I kind of put my business on hold to do door-to-door sales. Did that for about 10 years, did very well. I love talking to people. And I really believed that everybody who owned a home should have security. The fire system, I think, was very important. In the event that your house had a fire, it would call the fire department for you, especially if you weren't home. The fact that the door—
That's very handy.
Yeah. Or, knowing when your kids got home from school, getting a notification on your phone, and the security turned more into home automation. But then one of the big corporate giants started doing security systems, and it basically put the business that I was in out of business, unless we wanted to kind of merge with the big guys. And it just wasn't going to work out. And that was a really big wake-up call for me. I hadn't had done anything other than starting my, networking business when I was 18, and then basically 10 years of door-to-door sales for an alarm company. So I took a job selling coffee and wine. I was selling coffee in the morning and wine at night, working in a coffee roastery, selling all the different varietals of beans, roasting the beans, making custom mixes. And then at nighttime, I was working at a wine store selling wine, same deal, different varietals. And it's so funny how complementary those two industries are. One's a stimulant, anyway. While I was working at the coffee shop one day, this guy comes in with a black and white newspaper, and he's like, starting a newspaper to compete, tell local stories. And I'm flipping through it, and I'm going through it, and there's like no advertising, just mostly articles. And I said to him, like, how are you going to be sustainable? He's like, oh, well, I'm still thinking about hiring a sales guy. And I'm like, why don't we hit the town tomorrow, and we'll see if we can get you some sponsors or some advertisers for your newspaper. We went out, and I think on day one, we secured like $12,000 in commitments for advertising for the paper that year. And he's like, you got to come do this with me full time. And I, I had all this experience, going door to door, and that was just different, right? I was going door to door with businesses, not going door to door with the newspaper. That did very well. I started writing for the newspaper. That was the first time I got published. That was really exciting. And I started writing these stories about the arts and history and culture, heritage, interviewing local artists, interviewing local businesses. And then a friend of mine came on board. His name was James. And we thought, paper's good. Newspapers are good. But we got to start doing video content. We got to start doing video advertisements, video marketing. And we started doing that for the newspaper. And it wasn't long before that project took off. We got a gig with economic development in Kitchener Waterloo doing promo videos for all of the partners of their Waterloo Regional Tourism Marketing Corporation. Okay, I'll summarize. A real estate guy reached out to me. He's like, I love all the stuff that you're doing in the community. What could you do if you had my bankroll? And his name was Ryan Campbell. He owns the Crew Real Estate here in Brantford, which is the real estate team that I'm a member of now. And he hired me to be his brand ambassador. He actually hired James and I to do it through our marketing company at the time. And we put an emphasis on promoting all the good that the real estate company was doing, all the people we were sponsoring. We started supporting all the local theater, the culture, music festivals, concert series, and we really put an element of supporting nonprofit, supporting charities. In our first year doing marketing for the Crew Real Estate, we not only helped him, break his threshold and record in selling real estate, but we raised almost $100,000 for local charities in our community.
Wow.
We made a name for ourselves. And 2 years of doing that, all sorts of talent shows, concerts, movies in the park, skating, you name it. Christmas parade was a big one. If you named it, we were a part of it. A seat on city council opened up. And my friends and my family and Ryan said, you're Mr. Community. You should run for that seat on council. And I was young. I was only 32 at the time. And I never thought in a million years I could win an election. But I had something I believed in, especially the community and, the economic growth of our community. And I was ambitious and, high-spirited and very, excited about where Brantford was going at the time. So I decided to run in the election. And at the same time, I enrolled into, at the time, the real estate school to get my real estate license. And in 2018, I won the election, won my seat on city council, and I topped that off graduating from the college with my real estate license. And in the beginning of 2019, January, I started my new role as a city councilor, which just came to an end this month, and my new career as a real estate agent. So I had to step away from doing all the marketing for the team and become a real estate agent and use the tools that I had built from the story that I just shared to not only help build a better community through my role on city council, but to help people in our community buy and sell real estate, while at the same time trying to give back in a meaningful way to make the community I lived in and now served a better place. So yeah, that's the summary right there.
Holy smokes, Joshua. That is quite the story there. I mean, you and I think it sounds like every step of the way you gained a lot of valuable tools to help you out, and bit by bit kind of brought you to where you are today.
How did you? Most valuable tool was?
Yeah, tell me what was the most valuable.
No one person can do everything. You have to surround yourself with people who can do the things that you either don't want to do, can't do, or don't know how to do. And you need to be complementary to them for the same. So you have to bring that same to the table. You have to do something for them that they can't do, don't want to, or don't know how to. And if that's the big thing about the real estate team, or even, my role as a city councilor or in my networking business, it was all about surrounding yourself with people so that you could do anything by leaning on your support.
Yeah. I mean, that's some great life advice, I think, in general, because, you get to a point, I think there's a mental, and I see it often, and I've experienced it myself, where it's very difficult to hand something off because you believe that someone else can't do it as well, or it's just you can't. there's something blocking you from doing it. But having more success in the community and in your own life comes really by leaning on other people and their skills, and yeah, being a servant
You're
to
right, though.
those that need your help. What's that?
You're right. Everybody wants to do it themselves, though. Everybody just thinks that they're the best at
Right.
everything and they can do it themselves. And for me, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I have a certain way I want things done. I want them done a certain way. But sometimes you just have to do. You have to trust that somebody knows how to do social media better, or that somebody
Mm.
knows how to do paperwork better, or somebody knows how to, set this up better. Like, you have to be willing to work with other professionals and, sometimes listen to what other people have to say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you're kind of a living testament to that with joining the crew team there and really, 10xing that the ability to not only close more deals for the brokerage, but give back to the community in a big way. I actually saw, I think on the website, maybe there was you did something with what was it, an art paint off or something?
The
I'd
art
seen there was
battle.
a DJ there. What was it called?
Yeah, art battle. So art battle
Art
is a
battle.
worldwide, yeah, it's a worldwide phenomenon. They happen in cities all over the world. It's a
Yeah.
competitive paint tournament. So artists get 20 minutes in front of a live crowd to transform a blank canvas into a beautiful work of art while the audience watches. At the end of each round, the audience votes for what's their favorite piece of the evening. At the end, the winners of each round compete, and then that finalist represents the community in Toronto, or the regional finals and then national finals. And it's just an amazing celebration of local art and artists and
Oh, it
music.
really is. Yeah, it's cool. It's
Spectacular.
yeah. I lived in Toronto for a majority of my life, and when I was in Queen West, we had an art battle too. I was invited. I had a few friends that were competing, and I was invited to compete myself because back in the day, I was went to animation school and classical art and all that sort
That
of
is
stuff.
so cool.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's so important to have those types of events to really bring communities together and showcase the talents. So that's fantastic. So now, you're part of, is it BRIA, the
The
Brantford
Brantford
Real
Regional
Estate?
Real Estate Association, yes.
Right.
So I'm a
You're on the
member of
board of
BRIA
directors.
as a realtor, and I was just as my second term as a member of the board of directors.
Seems like you can't slow down. You're always constantly pushing yourself to do something different. So what did you gain out of when you were doing coffee? And this kind of resonates with me, Joshua. You said coffee and wine. They're both vices of mine. But I also owned a tea company back in the day in Toronto. So I can definitely appreciate, the nuances when it comes to both of those beverages there. But yeah, can you speak a little bit on that for me, I'm a little interested in your journey into coffee, and then obviously with wine. Were you a sommelier, or how did that work?
So I never went the route of being a sommelier, no. But um, you're asking a great question here, and I think I'm just going to summarize it. For me, I don't believe in selling something to somebody who doesn't want something. So
Mm,
it's really got to be something that you want. And at the end of the day, what do you want? So if someone came to me and they were looking for a wine and they wanted my opinion on the wine, should I sell the wine that the store wants me to sell because we've got too much of it in the back room, or for whatever reason that's the item that we're supposed to be pitching that week? Or should I actually take the time to know what the customer wants it for? So maybe they're having a dinner party and they're having salmon and, Brussels sprouts and a beautiful spring salad. What is the wine that's going to complement that? And I took the time to know what each of the wines paired with, what they went
mm.
well with, but also at the same time taking the time to care about what they were buying, because some people are just looking to save money. Other people are looking for a fine quality product because they want to, impress their friends or family, or they just enjoy the finer things in life. It was the same thing with coffee. When you came
Right.
in, I was a big advocate of, you've got to widen your palate. You've got to widen, your experience. So, I mean, Ethiopian coffee is where it's at. Ethiopia is where coffee is from. If you've never had a fresh cup of Ethiopian coffee, go get one today, because it will change the way you enjoy coffee, but also the way that the beans are roasted or a particular blend. So, are you looking for something in the morning that's going to just wake you up and make your hair curly like mine and get you going for the
Ah,
day?
that's where it came from.
Yes. Or do you need just a chill, relaxed coffee, because when you get home from work, you just really enjoy the flavor of coffee, but you don't want to be over caffeinated because you want to eventually go to bed. Sorry, in summary, I think what made me successful with selling wine and coffee was that I took the time to actually get to know the people I was selling the product to, and to make sure that the
Mm.
product that they were buying was what they were looking for, while at the same time not being afraid to work with people to help expand their palate. Is
Right,
that too
right.
much? I just think
No,
that,
that's fantastic because yeah, it really comes down to sort of you play matchmaker, and someone comes in, and if they, um, and I think the most difficult is when someone really doesn't know what they want, but it's the most rewarding because you get to ask those questions and really get a sense of who they are, and pair them up with something that hopefully when they walk away they've got a smile on their face.
have
So
you ever
we
worked
could
in retail?
what's that?
Have you ever worked in retail?
Well, I had my own tea shop, and we had about I still have the company, but we blend. At the height of it, I had about 125 different blends of tea. So you can imagine when we're doing an event and we've got different teas out, or we're doing some sort of taste experiential sort of event, and we're trying to pair people up. It's but that's the extent of my retail. Was that I don't think I
Well,
worked. Oh, I worked at a record shop when I was a teenager, but
in retail, few and far between is the person who walks in who didn't walk in to buy something. And I
right.
think that, being that experience, being that person who, well, what brought you in today, what is that you're looking for? It's one of the reasons I love open houses as a
Mm,
realtor. Open houses are retail real estate. There are people
right.
walking in who want to buy a home. What a, I'm sure we'll get there, but it's just, I loved working in retail. The only thing I didn't like about it was I wasn't working for myself, which is
Hmm.
always, I think, my passion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's open houses were something that it was either it was so polarizing. I've spoken to some realtors that really enjoyed the fact that the last couple of years they didn't have to do open houses, and then you had some that were just really
That
missing it.
boggles my mind. I do
Right?
an open house every Sunday, and if I
Oh,
don't
good
have an
for you.
open house, I'll do an open house for another agent. I
Yeah.
can't imagine any realtor not wanting to do an open house. That, to me,
Yeah.
you know how many houses I've
I th-
sold to people who came to open houses, or how many houses I've sold because of an open house? Oh
right,
man,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think for some people maybe it's a little bit more difficult. They're more they're not as outgoing, and
That's why
if
you got
they're
to be on a real
introverted,
estate team. You have
that's
to look,
true.
if you're a
That's
realtor and you're not good at all aspects of the real estate industry, you need to work with people who are good at the stuff that you're
yeah,
not,
you
so
got to
they
lean
can
on a
do it
team.
and be that person for you. Because I not every realtor on our team's like me, and I'm not like every other realtor on our team. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, it's great. You're speaking a lot of words of wisdom here, Joshua, when it comes to being a, and this goes for anything really in life, right? When you're feeling like you don't have the tools to succeed in something, having someone else to lean on, or creating a mastermind group, or doing something that you're able to draw from but also give back is so important. And it sounds like this has been a constant in sort of your journey to where you are today. So let's speak about that a little bit. Your journey here today as a real estate agent. How are you finding it? Because you're fairly new to being a licensed realtor, but you're not new to real estate. You're definitely not new to knocking door to door or talking to people in person that you've never spoken to. How are you finding it? And obviously, in the last few months, we've started to see a shift in the market. And how are you dealing with it?
Okay, so this is the most incredible thing that I have ever been able to do in my life, save for the birth of my daughter and marrying my wife. Those
Right
two
on.
great things that ever happened.
Right
But
answers.
my career, real estate, it for me, helping people buy and sell property is just a small portion of it. It's the experience that I get to have, the people that I get to meet, the emotions that are involved, the networking aspects of it. And ultimately, this career gives me the financial ability to be able to do what I am most passionate about, and that is making my community a better place by having the ability to be able to support, all the charitable work and the work that we do in the community. But how have I been finding it? Every single human being that you encounter in the world is buying, selling, trading, investing, or renting in real estate with somebody. And why isn't it you? Or how could it be you? And I'm not going around stepping on toes. If people got a realtor, I love that. I will work with you and your realtor to help you find what you're looking for. But for those that don't have a trusted realtor or an advisor, somebody who's helping them navigate the world of real estate, I want to be that person for them. So whether it comes to, I do a lot of commercial real estate on top of residential real estate. So helping my friends and people I know or people who come into my life start their business or find a location to build a bigger part of their business, or working with somebody who's looking at downsizing and, buying a smaller home. Or it's just every day I come in, and while you might think that my job is the same day in and day out, it's never the same. Every day I meet somebody new and they have a new project for me to work on. And I'm an excitable guy. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I take a lot of joy from what I get to do. When someone calls me and says, Josh, I'm looking for a 2-bed, all brick bungalow. It's got to have a great big fenced in backyard, and I need it to be within 15 minutes of the hospital because that's where I work. I'll go on the market and I'll look and I'll see if that's available, right? That's the first thing they do. They tell me what they want, so I go to see if it's available. If it's not available, then I go into one of our Facebook groups and I'm like, yo, I've got somebody looking for a 2-bedroom house. It's got to be a brick bungalow. It's got to have a backyard. It's got to be close to the hospital. Who's got one? And then if nobody's got one, then me and a couple of the agents here will go out and knock doors all around the hospital for every brick bungalow, and we will find somebody who wants to sell their home to our client.
That's amazing.
And we don't sit around here. Right?
Yeah.
You can't just wait for real estate deals to happen. You have to make real estate deals happen. So if you're somebody who's looking for something, tell me what you're looking for, and my team and I are going to go and find it. And if
you are the matchmaker,
that's all we do. And
that's it.
Same thing when it comes to selling your home. If you think putting a sign on the lawn and telling people a home is for sale is enough, absolutely not. We do.
That used to be enough. That's the interesting thing, Josh, was like 8-9 months ago, that used to be enough. And I think that's why there was some, pushback with open houses, and you didn't really have to do any. If you had some listings and you had sellers that were willing to trust you to sell the house, it would essentially sell itself.
Well, between you and I, we both know there's so much more to selling a home. You've got to help people, with getting all the paperwork to their lawyer and their mortgage broker. You've got to arrange for the appraisal. If there's any inspections that need to be done, if you've got to do a water test on a well or get a septic checked out, you've got to help people find movers. You got to help people find cleaners. They're getting boxes. I mean, I go over to clients' houses and help them pack. Like that, man, real estate isn't just.
Yeah, it's just not a contract, and it's not just putting a number on paper and saying congratulations, it was accepted.
Absolutely not for us.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We have a saying: when you work with the crew, you become a part of the crew. That's our thing. The crew isn't us. The crew is all of us together. So when you work with the crew, you get access to everything we have. And
you guys are like the village.
Takes a village.
Takes a village. You got
it.
That's
so cheesy, but it's true. It's so true.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. Anytime we've done a closing here, when you're working and you've got sort of your A team together, so someone comes to you, like I've had clients who, we talked about this earlier off camera, TikTok, right? And someone coming to me and saying, hey, do you have a realtor? Do you have a lawyer you can recommend, that home inspector? You get everyone in on the conversation. All right, this is the game plan. This is what we're going to do. This is what you want. Now, like, let's go time. Let's do it. And it makes things so much easier when there isn't, when everyone's sort of on the same page and working towards, because ultimately we're all working towards the same goal here. So now that we're in this sort of new phase of real estate where it's not a seller's market, and some it's balanced, and some it's a buyer's market, What are you seeing right now? Let's talk maybe first on sellers. So if you're
Okay.
looking to sell your property in this market, Joshua, what are a few things that you can recommend to someone if they're considering selling? Because obviously the house is not going to sell itself now.
I'm going to repeat exactly what you just said, and I'll just elaborate on it.
All
You
right,
need to
sure.
have a team. You need to have everybody who is involved in the process all on the same page, and everybody understands the plan. So you need your lender, right? You need to make sure that you know exactly what you're trying to get for your property so you can achieve whatever your next goal is. You need all the decision makers to be around, anybody who's involved in the sale of the property or has an opinion of it. You need to make sure that your property is clean and presentable. You need to be working with a professional, real estate brokerage that's going to be providing you a top tier photography. And one of
Mm,
the things I just did on a recent video was deceptive photography has to stop. You
mm,
need to set realistic expectations with the photos. There's nothing worse than when a potential buyer walks into the property and it doesn't look anything like the photos. So you want to make sure that you're reviewing and going over your marketing package with the brokerage before you ever actually go to market. You need to focus on the exterior of your property because you get one shot at a first impression. You need to have a
right.
comprehensive marketing package with your realtor, and you need to have realistic price expectations. So while market value is going to be determined what somebody else is willing to pay for your property, if you're trying to achieve goals or price goals based on, what happened the last year or so, you should be really having a great conversation because while it might not be the best time for a seller in this current market right now, you're buying in this same market, so you've got to weigh the trade-off. Maybe you're selling
Hmm.
your home for 200,000 less than your neighbor did just a couple of months ago, but you're also being able to buy a property for $200,000 less than you were a few months ago. You also need to be very well aware, and I'm sure you know about what your mortgage rates are and what the trade-off would be, because would you have rather bought a $900,000 house at the lower interest rate a few months ago, or would you rather buy a house at $600,000 now with the higher interest rate? Which house is going to go up faster? Which one is going to go? There's so much to it, and these are things that I think sometimes people rush into real estate sales. They rush because they found a house that they want to fall in love with and they want to sell their home. But real estate should never be something that you rush.
Mm.
It's actually the thing that I hated the most about the last 2 years is that we were speed dating houses. We were grabbing clients and holding their hands and running through a house in 30 minutes with a lineup out the door, being like, hey, do you want to make the biggest decision you've ever made in your life in 30 minutes?
Yeah, it was a heck of a ride for a lot of people because it felt like there wasn't enough inventory, and everyone, like you said, you're lucky even if you got to see a house, let alone put an offer on it. So if you're going to put an offer, just got to drop every single condition you can possibly think of because it's not going to happen. You just have to take it and take it at the
to,
seller's word that
to
it's a great
summarize what I
place.
just said about listing properties, you need to have a plan and you
Hmm.
need to be able to pivot quickly. You need to
Right.
be
Yeah.
able to pivot. You need to be able to say, okay, the plan didn't work. Let's try a new plan.
Hmm.
And if that didn't work, we try a new plan. And you
Go to
need
Plan
to,
C, Plan
yeah,
D. Yeah.
and just be realistic. That's the most important thing. Everything sells. I did a video on this. It's price or patience. You either manipulate the price or you're patient.
Right. Yeah. And we say the same thing too sometimes with mortgages. How much are can I get a mortgage? You sure can, but what are you willing to pay as far as interest rates? Because there's a lot of private lenders out there that will gladly give money, but they want that house at the end of the day, so they don't care if you forfeit or you can't make your payments on it and you default. Um, Joshua, you mentioned something here where you had a great comparison, and this is something I had actually done a little exercise in on whether or not you should, did you miss out earlier this year buying a house at $900,000 at a low interest rate or holding off and buying it today at 600,000? You had a really good point where there's a lot more upside if you do buy today. Our housing inventory, our affordability issues have not gone away. And doing a little exercise on it, it actually worked out on a comparable house. If you took basically the same house you could have bought in February and you compared it to one today, it was a lot cheaper, even with the higher interest rate, to go ahead and purchase it in today's market. So I'm glad you did touch on that, because that is something that a lot of people, I think there's a perception there that interest rates have gone up, so the cost of borrowing has gone up, and forget it, we can't afford it. But if we look at it in its totality, well, look, prices are at a discount right now. So it could be a good opportunity to get into the market. So speaking of market with Brantford, can you talk a little bit about what's going on down there? Because I was interested before we moved out here, moving there, and my sister-in-law actually lives in Brantford. So let's talk a little bit about it.
Brantford is an absolutely incredible place to purchase real estate. It has been consistently over the last decade in numerous top 10 lists as places to invest in real estate. There's plenty of growth to be had here. We have a really interesting location. So, of course, we are just south of Kitchener Waterloo. We are to the east of the GTA and the GTHA, and then we are just to the we are to the west of the GTHA, and then we are
Right,
to
yeah,
the
yeah,
east
east.
of London. So we have this pressure pushing on us from both sides and down from the top of people who are getting priced out of those areas who are coming here. And we're still very reasonably priced for people who are moving from the much larger communities. You're also seeing that effect push onto Brant County, because many people don't know, but Brantford is its own independent community. And then we are surrounded like a donut by Brant County entirely. So Brant, right? And then even south from here into Norfolk County, they are just getting a huge wave. Our saving grace is that we have the 400 series highway, whereas they don't have that access down in Norfolk just yet. Anyway, it's just a great place to call home. We do have a vibrant arts and culture community here. We are the tournament capital of Ontario. We have plenty of opportunities for people who are into sports. Our number one product is agricultural products, food products like food manufacturing. We have large headquarters here like Procter and Gamble and SE Johnson. So there's a lot of really cool growth potential here. And at the end of the day, you can still buy a house that has a backyard in a quiet, safe neighborhood. And that's desirable to a lot of people. And while we face the same societal challenges that many other communities face, there's nothing but room for growth here in Brantford. So for people who are looking to move here from outside, it's great. For people who live here, it's a bit tough. Many people find they've been priced out of the market. The average price of a property here is between $700,000 and $800,000 right now, which is tough for a first-time home buyer. But now with the correction that's happening in the market, you can find properties like just the other day there were 20 houses under 400 that were sitting on the market. That's a big deal.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm not sure what pricing's like where you're at, but $400,000 is a great price to get into the market.
Definitely, yeah. Because at that $400,000 price point, if you qualify and you put 5% down, that's $20,000 for a lot of people. That is attainable, especially if you can factor in maybe getting a gift from an immediate family member. It's possible to get people into the market at that. And
demand. So so people are all like, oh, well, the market's cooled or whatever. It is so subjective, because I would say that anything that's priced under 600 in Brantford, you still have a lineup of people who are going after those properties. You still have a bunch of people who are in the market to buy anything that is in that price range. It's when you get over the 700 to upwards and higher, you're seeing longer days on market, more selection, more people who are looking,
Right. So that 400 or that lower price range, what are you noticing? Are they more end users that are buying, or is it more for investment purposes? What are your thoughts on that?
It's everything.
Yeah.
If a first-time home buyer can get in there and buy the property and they're okay with some cosmetic upgrades, doing a little bit of painting here, maybe replacing a roof, upgrading lead pipes, or getting rid of old furnaces, getting rid of stucco, plaster walls, that kind of stuff, or if they're just cool with living in a house that's like that. But we have two major post-secondary education schools here in Brantford. We have Conestoga and Laurier, who are bringing in thousands and thousands of students each year. So you are seeing a lot of properties being bought up and turned into rentals, student rentals, especially anywhere near the core. And then as you expand outside of the core, you're seeing a lot of homes being bought up and turned into rentals, because we have an unhealthy rental market here in Brantford. There's so much demand for rental properties. And, even like a 3-bedroom home right now is renting at like $2,000 a month plus. And that is just not sustainable. People
Right. Yeah.
can't keep paying $2,000 a month for rent. Like if you can pay $2,000 a month, you should be able to get a mortgage and be able to buy your own home.
Yeah, 100%. I had gone in. It was a friend that was looking to rent, so they wanted a second opinion on a place here in Kitchener. So I went in with them, my wife and I, and the lower basement was I couldn't believe it. You know, it's been a while since I've been out. $1,900 I wanted for the lower, and for the main floor, and this was on a small street. It was a bungalow. Main floor was $2,400 plus utilities, and this needed a lot more than a fresh coat of paint, in my opinion, to kind of get it up to. So we definitely have an issue there when it comes to inventory for renters, and you hit it on the head there. You know, with rental prices being so high, if people can afford the cost of rent, something has to be done with the stress tests and the affordability to get people into houses. So hopefully that can be addressed. I know I was looking at some of the stats here for October for Bria. Bria had released, and they said there's more listings. So 515 listings at the end of October compared to 189 last year. So that's great. So we're seeing a little bit more inventory coming on the market, and hopefully it can get people into some of these houses a little bit sooner. But I still think we need to do something when it comes to the stress test and qualifying people on mortgages.
There's too much manipulation out there, and it is.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get too aggressive about it, but I just wish that more people would reach out to qualified professionals and ask them their opinion on what's going on versus relying on the media that's being put out there, that is, appears to be scaring people or appears to be misleading people. So how many people I talk to who think that this huge crash is happening or is going to happen, and people are holding off buying a family home for their family, because they all buy when it crashes. If the real estate market crashes the way that some people believe that it's going to, we are going to have much bigger problems to be dealing with than whether or not you can afford a home. Our economy,
I agree.
needs the real estate market to maintain a certain. The doom and gloom is making me sick to my stomach. There's a lot of rhetoric out there that realtors would rather houses cost more, or would rather, because our commissions are based on the sale price. But I think that what doesn't get told often enough is that at least people like me and my colleagues and the people I choose to surround myself with, our top priority is helping somebody find a home, whether they're looking at renting or they're looking at purchasing. And at the end of the day, I want housing to be affordable. I want the average person working an average job to be able to have home ownership as an attainable goal. And our organization, BRIA, is actively working through our committees and our boards with local governments, with provincial governments, and with the federal government to ensure that home ownership is something that every single citizen of this country can afford. Because that is something that it should not be something that is only possible. Wait, sorry. You understand what I'm trying to say, though, right?
I totally get it. Yeah, and
we need to encourage
I can.
development. We need to build up, not out. We need less urban sprawl, more towers.
Yeah, I mean that's vertical living. I came from I lived on the 46th floor, so I totally appreciate it. It can definitely work. It can work for families too, and we need to do something about, like you said, affordability in this in this country, because it's definitely something that is weighing on a lot of people. And I don't think there is doom and gloom. I think with the government, they're very aggressive with the amount of affordable houses that they want they've got these incredible targets. The problem is they're downloading it to the municipalities, and it's up to the municipality to kind of figure out how do we get to these numbers. And if you look at the housing starts, the math doesn't make sense. Not only that, but the amount of skilled labor you would need, construction. I was just out in Alberta and talking to one of the developers out there, and that's the number one thing. They're like, look, we just can't find the skilled labor to keep up with the number of units that we're building. So, we're backlogged, sorry. So it's something that's happening across this country, and I don't know if we're going to get there, but I don't think we're going to see a massive correction in the market either. It's very risky to try and time the top,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
it is to try and time the trough as well too. So if you can
I think
afford to
you'd,
get in right now,
I
I'd
think
say
you'd
do it.
agree with me. I'm a firm believer that the most important part of buying a property, a home, is having a plan and working with professionals. If you are
Yeah,
somebody and right now you are listening to this podcast and you are thinking about buying your first property, find the best realtor in your community, find the best lender in your community, and get in a room together and put it on paper who you are, what you do, how much you make, what your goal is. And even if it takes you a year or 2 years, the goal is to be a property owner. And I think that that should be something that everybody is trying to obtain, because at the end of the day, every day you pay rent to somebody else, you're putting money into somebody else's pocket that's not yours. And I firmly believe there is a way for every person to find their way into property ownership. But you need
yeah.
to work with professionals who will give you real advice. They'll tell you the truth. They will tell you that, you can reach this goal, we can get you a home.
Well, that's exactly it, Joshua. Is it takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of time, and yeah, sometimes the answer you get today is going to suck. It's going to, but at least it gets you on the path, and it provides you a way to get there. I had a client that came to me last year, and horrible credit, not much savings, but put them on a path to say, okay, look, this is what we need to do, and these are actionable steps. And as long as you stay committed to the plan, keep your eye on the prize, you'll get there. Luckily we did get them there, but it's one of those things that you're 100% right. You need to make a plan, and if you don't think you're in a position right now and I can't make it work, well, guess what, like you said, if you're not living and you don't have your own place, you're renting and you're paying someone else's mortgage. So do you want to do that, or do you want to start building wealth for yourself and your family?
The hardest hurdle, the hardest
Yeah,
hurdle I think for
it
many
is.
people to get over is sometimes you have to move. Sometimes you have to leave the community that you grew up in, or leave, your friends and your family, and go somewhere where your goals are more obtainable. And for us, many people move south to Norfolk. For London, many people move north of London, or closer to Windsor. People in the GTA, I mean, they move basically anywhere other than the GTA to be affordable. But it's
Yeah.
and I understand some people don't want to move, but at the end of the day, I think putting your family's financial future first, you know, this, oh God, it's hard because I do get it. I understand that, some people have gotten bad advice and they feel like they're going to have to rent for the rest of their lives. And I just don't subscribe to that. I subscribe
Yeah.
to, if you put together a plan, there's a way for almost everyone, if not everyone.
I just got to execute on that plan and make it reality. It's kind of like those vision boards. I don't know if you've ever subscribed to having a vision board up in your place, but
You got to make your
there's
goals
something to
high
be
and
said.
visual. Doesn't everybody do that? You got to put your goals
100%.
right there so
Yeah.
they smack you in the face every day.
When I used to do, so I trained and then I taught martial arts for a while. My family's got a club, but years ago we used to say goals you set are goals you get, and you had to repeat it every single time you walked into that dojo. So it's something to be said in life too. You've got to set that goal if you want to achieve it.
I'm borrowing it.
Joshua, yeah, take it, man. It's all yours. I'm going to wrap this up, but I think I definitely want to have you back because I think we've just kind of skimmed the surface of some of the really relevant topics and conversations that need to be had, especially around affordability. I want to get into Crew and what you guys are doing because I think giving back to the community is so important in today's day and age. It's something a lot of people overlook, but I want to find out a little bit more what you guys are doing, what you plan on doing with the community. So, but it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with me today, Joshua.
You are a gentleman. It has just been great to have a conversation with you about this, to share a little bit about myself and the company that I'm so proud to work with. I hope that people will take the time to look me up online. I'm real Joshua Wall everywhere that matters: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok.
Right on. Yeah, I'm gonna link to your stuff below because I think that's how I found you anyway. You've got some great stuff online. So guys, if you're interested in reaching out to Joshua, finding a little bit more about what he's about, what he's doing, and how he can help you, I will leave that contact information below. Again, thanks for joining me, Joshua, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.